Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. You are listening on Focal Point to ethanol-free radio. This is simply high-octane, high-powered jet fuel that we are trying to inject into your engine. Focal Point AFR Talk. Great to have you with us. And by the way, it was a very sweet call from that last listener that we played on the break. And if you have a listener story about how Focal Point or AFR Talk has impacted you, we would like to use those during Share-a-thon. So if you got a particular story about how God has used a Focal Point or AFR Talk in your life, if you have been motivated to stand with courage in the culture war because you listen to Focal Point or AFR Talk, if Focal Point or AFR Talk has helped you grow as a Christian, if you'd like to tell us about what you find the most encouraging about listening to AFR Talk, please give us a call and record your message, 800-326-4543, 800-326-4543. Select option 8, and you can record your message about how AFR Talk or Focal Point has had an impact on you, and we can use those during Share-a-thon. Again, that's 800-326-4543. By the way, today is the 40th anniversary of the first cell phone call. I don't know if you know that. Motorola invented the first cell phone 40 years ago, and the first call was placed today. A guy working for Motorola took this big boxy cell phone down on the corner, and he called a competitor of his at AT&T, just basically to gloat about the breakthrough. That was 1973. It was 1983 that the first commercial portable cell phone was made available. It cost $3,995. You've come a long way, baby. Let's go back. First of all, we've been talking about how Ben Carson's facing his Tim Tebow moment with this invitation he's accepted to speak at the Illinois Family Institute. Will he stick to his guns and honor the commitment he made to speak at their banquet? I'm betting that he will, even though they're a certified hate group, according to the SPLC, which all that means is they're a truth group. They just tell the truth. Now, you want to listen to the example of courage under fire. Judge Roy Moore, we got an audio clip here of his hearing when he was actually unseated as the Chief Justice of the Alabama Supreme Court. He got reelected this fall, so he's back as the Chief Justice of the Alabama Supreme Court. Here's Judge Roy Moore when he was under fire. Let's listen.
Federal court ordered that you could not acknowledge God, isn't that right?
Yes.
And if you resume your duties as Chief Justice after this proceeding, you will continue to acknowledge God as you have testified that you would today.
Absolutely.
No matter what any other official says.
Absolutely. Without, if I can clarify that, without an acknowledgement of God, I cannot do my duty. I must acknowledge God. It says so in the Constitution of Alabama. It says so in the First Amendment to the United States Constitution. It says so in everything I've read. So
the only point I'm trying to clarify, Mr. Chief Justice, is not why, but only that, in fact, if you do resume your duties as Chief Justice, you will continue to do that without regard to what any other official says. Isn't that right?
Well, I will do the same thing this court did, in starting with prayer. That's an acknowledgement of God. I would do the same thing that justices do when they place their hand on the Bible and say, "So help me God." It's an acknowledgement of God. The Alabama Supreme Court opens with, "God save the state and this honorable court." It's an acknowledgement of God. In my opinions, which I've written many opinions, acknowledging God as the source, a moral source of our law. And I think you must.
During the trial of this matter, Chief Justice maintained his defiance, testifying that he stood by an earlier statement given by him to the Judicial Inquiry Commission, in which he stated in part, "I did what I did because I upheld my oath, and that's what I did. So I have no apologies for it. I would do it again." The Chief Justice showed no signs of contrition for his actions. Because of the magnitude of the decision with regard to sanctions for the Chief Justice's violation of the canons of judicial ethics was a difficult one for this court to make. Finding no other viable alternatives, this court hereby orders that Roy S. Moore be removed from his position of Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Alabama. This court is now adjourned.
So that's Judge Roy Moore. No quitting that cowboy. He got bounced. He got removed. He ran for the Chief Justice position again in the fall. He was chosen by the people. They like him. They want him. What the people of Alabama said, we need and want and deserve a Chief Justice, the chief judge in our state. We want somebody that acknowledges God as the source of all of our moral standards and the source of every single one of our unalienable rights. So God honoring the courage, the boldness, and the stand of Judge Roy Moore. That's another winnable war moment for the day. He ultimately vindicated by the people of Alabama. Let's go back to the phones. Let's go to James, driving a truck in Arkansas. James, thanks for calling, and thank you so much for waiting. What's on your mind today?
I was just going to say that, first of all, God bless you, and God bless your program.
Thank you.
I love to hear the truth. I love to hear what you said about the Bible, and then if you could get that across to the American people, what you said about basically stealing and killing and murdering, it's all right there. Our Constitution, based on that, and God and everything, and that Chief Justice, God bless him too. God bless the people of Alabama. It's absolutely. It just blows my mind that people on the homosexual community in large would think that, oh no, it's okay, and God thinks it's okay, so why can't I be like that? Well, my question to you was, if everybody basically, because there's a lot of homosexuals out there that would like to see everybody be gay. Okay, if that happens, there's not going to be anybody making babies. So then what happens?
Well, and by the way, a lot of geneticists are finally honest enough to admit that, look, it's not possible for homosexuality to be genetically transmitted because there's no way that gene could be perpetuated. It would die out because they cannot lead to reproduction. So it's not going to be passed on. I mean, if it was there, it would very quickly disappear from the gene pool because reproduction is not possible with homosexual behavior. So if you get honest geneticists, they will actually admit that. I mean, the honest geneticists, they will tell you, look, it's not possible that people are born gay. It's not genetically possible. We know that from the study of identical twins. I've been over this before, but I want to drive it home. I want to get this in your brain so it's locked in there. A researcher at Columbia, researcher at Yale did this long study of identical twins, one of whom is homosexual. Now, if it's genetically based, according to the laws of science, then if one identical twin is homosexual, the other should be homosexual 100% of the time because their DNA is identical. They are identical twins. But they found instead that the concordance rate is somewhere between 5% and 7%. So that proves that homosexuality cannot be genetically caused and genetic in origin. Anyway, James, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, real quick. Thank you. I worked with a man in a factory for 15 years that was homosexual. So I'm not at all, scared of. There's a lot of people out there that I actually, don't understand it. Working with this guy for 15 years, he was married to a woman years ago, and he said that he just changed his mind, that he started liking men. Mm-hmm. And I told him that I thought that was the craziest decision that I'd ever heard. Mm-hmm. But I want to say thank you for what you're doing, and I will drive down these highways, and when I find you on there, I listen to you every day. So
great,
thank you
James.
Very much.
Well, thank you very much, and God bless you in return, my friend. Appreciate that call very much. And one of the main opponents of homosexual marriage is a guy by the name of Doug Mainwaring, who is a self-acknowledged homosexual. He was married. He had 2 children with his wife. Then he entered into the gay lifestyle. So clearly this is a matter of sexual preference. He chose to go into that lifestyle. He chose to yield to those impulses. But he has since come back and is now living with his ex-wife and their 2 daughters. They're living together as an intact family. Now, he still says he's homosexual. So apparently he and his ex-wife are not enjoying that part of their relationship, but they're under the same roof. They are parents. There's a mom and a dad living together in the same roof, parenting their children. And Doug Mainwaring is saying, look, one of the reasons that I am flatly opposed, I'm a homosexual, but I am flatly opposed to homosexual marriage is that I know that children need a mother and a father. I'm the father. My ex-wife is the mother. Our children need us to parent them together, and that's what he has chosen to do. Let's go to Ted in Judson, Arkansas. Ted, welcome. What's on your mind?
Yes, I want to thank you for your giving us our Founding Fathers' views of this, and it is so important for us to remember what our Founding Fathers stood for and how they set up our Declaration of Independence, and I wanted to thank you for that, and I just wanted to read 2 verses out of the Bible to give us God's view.
All right, shoot.
Yes, in the book of Joel 3, 2 and 3, this is why God judges the nations. I will gather all nations and bring them down to the valley of decision, and I will enter in a judgment with them there on account of my heritage Israel. So the first reason is to protect Israel. The second is they've also divided my land. We didn't need to not be involved in dividing God's land. I've given a boy as payment for a harlot. That's homosexual lifestyle. And sold a girl for wine that they may drink. And that's pornography, Hollywood using a girl to make us drink of the wine of their fornication. And this is destroying our nation, our morality, and bringing God's judgment on our land. And we need to stand and pray against it.
Okay, Ted, listen, I appreciate that very much. And that's one of the reasons what Ted is talking about here. You know, we've been seeing that in the book of Jeremiah, how God's judgment can fall on a mighty, on a secure, on a prosperous nation because it turns its back on God, rejects the worship of the true and living God, and refuses to obey the clear teaching and moral standards of the true and living God. And judgment will fall upon any nation that does that. And Ted's exactly right. That's why we need to open every program in prayer. We need to mean that prayer. We need to beg God to intervene, to bring about repentance in this people before he will be forced to bring his hand of judgment down on the United States as he did on Judah. Back in 2, stay with us.